Hey, it's Ryan. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Guidelines. Today, I get the pleasure of hosting, and this is the podcast that takes you past the listings, the programs, and all of the polished sales talk that you hear every day to reveal the real people shaping today's real estate world. And I'm super jacked to go through our path with Jason, and I'll be asking him some questions today and putting him on the spot. And focus around how we've designed our lives and designed the business to fit our lives instead of the other way around. So I want to start with a question around how did the mortgage business try to mold you, and how did you resist that from happening?
Well, great to be on another episode, Ryan. Happy to be on the hot seat today. So it's a good point to bring up now that we've been in the business for a long time. I think in the beginning, I think we all kind of molded ourselves into what everyone is doing because it was working, right? Everyone's kind of doing the same things. There wasn't a lot of different guidelines and programs that there are today. And so there also wasn't a lot of regulations involved, right? So we had a lot of bad apples. So the idea of just showing up to work and doing a good job, a lot of times worked just fine. But now we've got a lot of great people in the industry. We have a lot more competition that are doing things the right way, but there's a lot of people still stuck in that mold, right? And I think that part of the problem is not really knowing what to do in your business. So I remember when I first started, I was just a sponge. I was listening to people, I was following everyone and kind of trying to determine who I was in the business. And I think that's everybody's first step into this business. Wouldn't you think, Ryan?
Yeah, it's find a mentor and copy what that mentor does, right? And I think that has its value in a couple different ways, but not in today's market. If you're not yourself, then you're somebody else, and you're going to fail every time, right? Because you can't ever be that way. So when you started, what are some of the things that you tried that didn't end up making it into your persona as a mortgage broker?
I tried everything really in the beginning. So I think when I first started in the industry, I didn't know what I was doing. So what do? You find the top producers and you emulate what they're doing. And a lot of the top producers that were in the business before doing the same things today. And really, a lot of the things that I think stood out for me was having a game plan, getting your day together on what your main goal is. And the main goal for me back when I first started, we were in a refi boom. Everybody was refinancing. There was no Dodd-Frank Act. So I was literally handwritten GFEs that I could change and erase at any time. We could close a deal in 4 or 5 days. There was a lot of, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West, I guess, in a sense. So the things that I was doing would never translate to the business that it is today. I think the one thing that didn't really appeal to me was cold calling. I never really liked the cold calls, only because I'm a relational guy and I want to build relationships and I don't want to be that salesy guy. How many times have you got that 800 number call and you're not sure who it is and you answer it and it's the same monotone guy trying to pitch you something that you don't need? And that was really a turnoff for me. So as I got into the business, I really had to figure out how my personality and my work ethic could translate to closing deals and making money in the industry. So I had to find creative ways to really find leads. I would say, kind of to back up, when I was in the refinance business, we actually had a marketing company that would do the cold calling for us, and they would transfer live leads to us, which was really fun. But I think at the end of the day, for me, I had to set myself apart from what everyone else was doing. And so that meant I was creating relationships with real estate agents. I was talking to closing attorneys. I was picking the brains of the top producers in my company and just other people that I wasn't even working with. I was a sponge. I was inviting people out for coffee. I was buying them lunch, just trying to find out, hey, what's working for you? And that's really what I started to implement, and I made it my own.
So fast forwarding to now, because we always are trying different things because we want to be on the forefront of the industry. That's why we created what we created, right? Was to fast forward these things. Fast forwarding till now, how do you stop yourself from trying things that are outside your personality that'll eventually just lead you to burn out, right? Because it's super easy to just get on this track of that's working for that guy, I'm going to go do that. And some people call it shiny object, but with me and you, we go all in on everything. So when we see something like that shifts our entire path. How are you sticking to what you do best and what you're really good at so that you don't get down the line of the burnout?
Great question, because burnout's a real thing. So I've been in the business 23 years and I tried to leave it 3 times in my career. Why? Because I was doing everything wrong. The reason why I came back is because I learned that I really enjoyed it and I was good at it. But it was when I was doing the things that translated to success and to make me, quote unquote, stay in my lane. And so what I mean by that is as you start developing these relationships, closing deals, and starting to get people to call you to do deals instead of you calling them, you have what's called this kind of snowball effect, right? And so you start picking up more and more deals. Well, what happens when you have 12, 13, 14 deals and you have no one to help you? So the burnout for me was not being able to step outside of the loan once it became a deal. And so I think it's very important for loan officers to know, and the successful ones probably already do this, right? Being a one-man band just doesn't work. You're going to miss stuff. You're not going to be as efficient as you think you're going to be by trying to do all the work. So I sell a deal, I'm trying to sell deal number 6, and deal number 1 is missing a signature on page 17 of the RESPA forms. If I got to stop and do that, it really takes me away from what my actual value to my company is, which is developing new business. So I think for me, to avoid the burnout, what I had to do was build a great team around me and surround myself with folks that can take over once a deal gets to a certain point. I kind of think of it like a conveyor belt, right? So I'm bringing deals in, I'm talking to clients, I'm talking to realtors. Once we have a contract and we sell the deal, we need to make sure that we have an amazing processing and operations team to take over that part. So am I still involved in the deal? Absolutely, right? I'm still going to be involved in the communication part. We'll get into more of the automation part, right? That takes away some of that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to trust the process and know that your team's got your back. And eventually what they do is they'll start to emulate how you do business and they just become an extension of you. I'll kind of go a little further because some real estate agents may be watching this and go, well, Jason, I want to work with you. I like you. I like your personality. I like the way you talk to my clients. I like the way you handle things. Are you going to be handing me off to another person? Absolutely not. So the idea is that I'm really good on the front end piece and I'm going to be connecting with and communicating with clients throughout the process. My processing team is really good at pushing paperwork, talking to underwriters, coordinating closings, talking to title. Those are sort of the things that I don't need to do because I'm working on more of a high level business. So how do I help a real estate agent get more deals? Well, it's not going to be me calling title companies. So I have to have someone efficient enough in my business that's managing that properly. And so my job really is looking at it from a higher point of view, saying, okay, realtors, I've got your back. I can help you build your business. We can work together and collaborate. While I'm out of the office, I've got to trust somebody that's killing it and doing what they need to do to make sure things close on time. And so that is how you avoid burnout in this business.
And taking that even to another step of outside of our structure, right? We understand that we're building that structure. To me, the most arrogant loan officer is the guy who tries to do it by himself, because he thinks he's the best at doing everything. He thinks he's the best at getting the business. He thinks he's the best at calling the lead all the way through the process. He thinks he's the best at calling the title company to get everything. And what that does is it actually makes because he will give good service, guaranteed, because he's going to have his hands on every part of that. So it's going to be his process from beginning to end. However, what he's not doing is servicing more people, which then allows those people to end up in the hands of the big 3 that nobody wants to say on camera, right? Because those people end up with those companies. So he's going to end up getting referrals in, and he's going to say, like you said, he's going to climb the ladder. He's going to do 5 deals, which he can control by himself. And then he's going to get to 7 deals and 9 deals. And once he gets to 7 to 9 deals, now 1 or 2 of those falls apart because he can't juggle that many things all at once. Because inevitably, one of those appraisals is going to come in short. He's going to have to deal with the reconsideration of value. And he's going to have to talk to both agents and negotiate the deal. And that's on hold, but he's still working on it. But all these crazy things happen. There's so many loan officers out there that, and we talk to them every day. They come in and they go, I really think that I should be in control of every step of the process. And we go, that's fine, but you're going to be at 3 to 5 deals forever. Because when the new business comes in, you're 1 to 2 to 3 days getting in contact with them because you're focused on the stuff that's already in the door. then that goes through and you're at 0 deals and you got to restart. We see the roller coaster of deals all the time. So what it does allow us to do by building out that team is support the real estate agents even better, because every single client gets the same experience, the same positive experience. There's nobody left in the dust because we have somebody taking care of the little stuff behind us that allows us to then talk to that person and be focused on them and not worried about all the dings going off on the emails, right? But it gives us, we schedule a 15-minute to a half an hour call. We don't focus on anything else because we've scheduled out that time for them. But you can't do that if you're working on all the other stuff. Love that you've recognized that, and definitely can see the burnout factor. And you and I tried to go through a couple deals where we didn't have a team when we just started the company, and that was awful, and I'm never doing it again. So
no, we're not friends or business partners. But hey, I will add to this too, and I think this is important. So in order to get to this point, I would say work with a great company that has the support staff for you. But in order to learn the process, I do think it's important for a loan officer to go through the gauntlet and learn all those things. So if you're one or two deals a month and you're just starting in the business, hey, I think it's a great idea. We're going to have your back, or whoever you're working with, right? It's going to have your back on the operation side. But I want you doing all those things, because how are you going to become an expert in your field if you don't know all the parts of it? Does that mean we stay in that? Absolutely not. We want to grow out of that and start doing more productive, high-level things. I think doing title, calling insurance, structuring files, getting with processing, being involved in that in the beginning, I think is a really good learning curve to get to the point where you can say, hey, not only do I understand the process, but I now trust my operations team because I've worked deals with them. And now I know that I can stay in my lane and trust that when the deal comes in, they're getting it to close, and it's usually going to be done early.
And the only way you learn is obviously by doing it. And really, if I would look back and change anything about where I was over the decade plus of originating, is getting to this point faster, right? I had enough deals under my belt and didn't recognize that was the cycle. I would have gone to my company and said, I want an LOA that takes it from after I speak with them on the entry point all the way to closing, and I'll pay for them. I don't care. I want to deal with that, right? That's what I'm doing in my company. And if they wouldn't have offered that, then I should have been out being in search of that. If I would have done that earlier in my career, it would have been an entirely different setup throughout the last 5 or 7 years. And again, we talk about this. You don't have to close 150 deals before you get to that point. You don't have to have $1.5 million in volume. We talk about, and this is a nice transition into what we want to talk about next, is to have a good personal life. So if you're making the money you want to make, it's not always about more deals, right? It's about quality of life and bringing in your personal life and designing your business around it. So how would you recommend, at what point would you recommend somebody have this conversation? And I think it's going to be earlier than people would recognize, right? But what level do you think is a good place for somebody to start having these conversations with the company that they're at?
Yeah, so I think the answer is yesterday. I think immediately, because even if you don't have the volume there, you need to start talking about what it looks like. And for you to get to that level and to that point, you have to visualize it. You have to come up with a plan, and you have to start talking about what that looks like. So I love what you said before about hiring someone and getting to that place faster. And that's all that is really, you're investing in yourself, right? You're spending money, you're taking a portion of what you're making to invest in something that's going to be greater. And I'll never forget, man, I got a great story. So the first time I ever finally stepped out and went to basically a master class for mortgage, specifically for mortgage brokers, it was my first class. It was grossly too expensive for me at the time. I was paying $3,000 a month, putting it on my credit card, trying to figure out how I can get out of the rat race of going chasing a bunch of deals, getting the deals. Now I got to go work the deals. And then now I don't have any deals. I got to go work the deals again, right? I never forget this picture they had of a one-man band. And it had a guy with a drum, a harmonica, a microphone, cymbals, and he looked ridiculous. And I'll never forget the guy in class said, that's what you look like when you're trying to do everything. You look absolutely ridiculous. When you go into a doctor's office and you go to see the doctor's not in front taking your payment. They're not taking your blood pressure. They're not taking your weight, right? And they're not scheduling you when you leave. The doctor is what you get to when he does the high level stuff. And that's kind of the best representation I can say when it comes to doing mortgage.
If you're doing all of those things, you can never become the expert on what you need to become the expert on to have the conversation we just had, because you don't have the ability to go out and learn things. You have no time to search guidelines or just read the book or go out and have at bats and come across scenarios. You just physically can't do it because of the time. So time is a great way to go into building your personal life as the framework. So, we talk about family, health, time, freedom. How have you designed your business backwards from those to get to where we are?
Man, so I think that's a daily work. For me, it's a daily struggle. I like to work. I work a lot. I wear many hats in my personal and my business life, right? But I think about it, if you ever think about a laptop, if you let a laptop just run for weeks on end, eventually it's not going to run very well. What do you have to do? You have to reboot it. You have to restart it, right? You have to get some software updates in there. Our body is like a laptop computer. If we don't allow ourselves to shut down and shut it off to take care of our personal endeavors, our business is going to be affected by that. So I know it sounds like a misnomer, or it doesn't really make any sense. Well, if I'm not working, how am I building my business? Well, some of my best ideas, I'm driving in the car by myself, just thinking out loud in my head, or just relaxing and talking out the day with my wife, or chatting with my kids. And that's when those bright light ideas come out. Why? Because I'm removing myself from the business and I'm letting my mind relax and have these natural thoughts that occur. All day we're running and we're trying to hit our goals and we're trying to do all these things. But in order to get there, I think you have to have that separation. You have to be able to unplug, so to speak. And it's a real thing, because if you don't, imagine going to dinner with your wife or your kids and you're taking calls, you're, watching your phone, you're answering texts. You're not having a good quality of life at home either. For me, I value my time, and so I have to take control of my time. I've been doing a lot better job of being more proactive than reactive. But again, when you're running a business, you're always going to have to react to certain things. But I think at the end of the day, when I am having time with my family, and I think we touched this a little bit on our last podcast, right? The balance of work and family is not going to be even, but it's the quality of time that you have with your kids and your wife or whoever you have. So if you've got 2 or 3 hours of dinner, make sure that you are fully connected there. And from 6 to 9 p.m., there's not going to be a crisis on a deal. I can handle it. If I have to handle it after 9, I'll do it. But it's usually I can handle it when I wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Underwriters are not there. I'm there to help, but at the same time, I got to have my personal life to the side. But I'd love to hear how you've been able to handle that.
One of the biggest things that I've recognized, and I'm the systems guy, so forgive me, I'm going straight to the system that created the mindset. But the system that utilized, and I got this, I was in coaching with Glover U last year, and I went to their event in Phoenix in January of last year. So this event, the first session of the first day, we went 4 hours straight with 1 10-minute break to go get an energy drink. And it was all designed around building out actual goals that you care about. The system starts with setting up what you actually need. So you fill out what your entire monthly need is for income. And then you add on your wants. And I'm not talking like I want to go out to dinner once a week. You can add that in, right? I'm talking the wants. For example, I was coaching one of the loan officers that I had under me at a previous company, and she said she wanted to take a trip to Ireland. And I said, well, how much do you think that'll cost? And she goes, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000. I've been to Ireland. You're dead on with the amount. If you drive all around the country, that's about what we spent on the trip for a week and a half or 2 weeks. I don't want you to take a trip that you drive around. I want you to design a trip that is this level. So if you get there, somebody meets you at the airport with one of those fancy signs with your name on it, and they drive you around the entire country, wherever you want to go. Design it, you're going to stay in a castle in every city. And I said, what do you think that would cost? She goes, I don't know, maybe 12 or 15 grand. I go, so we wrote down 15 grand. So before we started this, I asked her what her income goal was, and she said 100,000, because that's what 95% of people say when they have never made 100,000. And so we started there. So we put it all together, and 100,000, she would have to close 3.5 deals a month. We put all of these wants, all of these needs in. So we spread it out over 12 months, the trip and the debt and whatever she needed. She had to close 1.1 deals to get everything she spelled out that we talked about per month. So she went from thinking that $100,000 is this unattainable number to bringing it down to only needing to make 60, which brought the level down, and it went, oh, I can do that. So we went from this design of, oh, 100,000 is this peak that I'll never touch because I'm so far away from it, to breaking it down to what she actually wanted and needed, and recognized that's something that she can do. And what it does is it realigns every quarter, and it allows us to then look at it and design what we want. So after we go through that process every single quarter, or even just once a year, and keeping it on track, now we get to go, do I need more? It allows those micro moments to be so much stronger that you talked about, that 3-hour time block. Because if somebody calls you in that 3-hour time block, you get to actively choose if it fits inside your wants and needs, because you know exactly what you want and need. Instead of just like the normal loan officer, I want to make 100,000. They don't even know what it takes to get there. They don't know what their average loan amount is. They don't know what average that they make on every loan. And they have no goals at all. So they just have to take everything that comes in. Call at 10 o'clock. Yep, taking that call on Sunday afternoon. Yep, taking that call. Because they have to get more, because they have no idea what they actually need. So breaking it down into those simple terms of, this is the goal I need to get to, and I get to choose if that call comes in and I'm in a moment where I want to be, do I have to take that call? That's how I've designed the business around my life, instead of my life around the business. And it's so much better.
Man, that's fantastic. For me, when I'm scheduling, once I have a goal put in place, my wants now become a must. So I turn my wants into a must and say, if I want to do this, I have to do this every day. I must do this. And so it's almost like, once I start putting this on the calendar, my 8-hour days, I start working harder. I start fitting in those times. So if I'm blocking out, let's say 3 hours for something other than mortgage related, those other 5 hours, I'm making sure all that stuff gets done. Most people, when they're about to go on vacation, that day before the vacation, they do 8 hours of work in 2 hours because they want to get to the airport. They want to be done. And so, like, can we manage our time better to get to the goals that we want to attain? Yeah, I think we can, if we're intentional and we block time and we have a goal that we're focused on, and really that you can be obsessed about. I think obsession is another great thing to have. In a healthy way, to say, hey, listen, I want to get to that level. I need to be obsessed. I need to turn my wants into must. And guess what? You're going to get there. If you focus on that, you're more than likely going to get to your goal.
Well, and that getting it through that whole thing allows you to map out what a successful day looks like. One of our biggest lenders, they talk about the perfect day. Have you ever designed your perfect day, listener? Have you ever literally sat down and said, if I do this, this, and this, it's a perfect day. My day is successful. And anything after that is gravy. Because if you haven't, you don't know what your mark is. You never know. And that's what I mean by more. Then you got to answer the phone every time when somebody calls that you don't really want to talk to. And the same accomplishment. It's just designing it is the biggest thing, right? Like you mentioned, you put the goals in place and it becomes a must. And the wants kind of fall in line there. That's the biggest thing, is if you're not designing it, it's not going to happen. You're always going to fall outside of what you actually want, because you don't. Deep down, you got to know what you want and put it in place. That really does lead into my next topic of utilizing what we all have talked about so far, is to making those strategic decisions and getting to a place of being able to make those strategic decisions. So how are you utilizing strategic advantage of understanding the industry and understanding what you want to organize your day and fall in that line to be able to make those strategic decisions?
So that's another great question, because we were just talking about this the other day, right? On how are we structuring our day to make sure we're doing the things that we need to do to move to the next level. And so I think part of it is, first of all, breaking down what you want. So you have to find out what you want, and then you have to determine what you need to do to get there. So we're focusing on the process, really, not the result. So as long as you're doing those things on a daily and weekly basis, you're going to get there. So for me, strategically, my job is to create relationships with realtors that I want to work with, right? So in this stage in my career, I've got some really great realtors that I am working with, and I want to work with realtors that are aligned with my vision and my goals. I relate to a lot of agents that are close to my age, kind of going through the same experiences, that have the same motivational goals of growing and being successful. We just get along better that way. And so strategically, what I do is I just, really utilize the context that I currently have and reach out that way. We talked about not cold calling and finding better and creative ways to reach out to people, because let's face it, nobody wants to get a call from someone they don't know. So if I've got a realtor that I've developed a relationship with, I want to ask them directly, hey, who in your office is someone that maybe is going to benefit from the way that we do business, right? We're using our tech stack, we're using AI, we're using a lot of great communication to be able to move things down quicker and get deals going in a better way than most, let's say. Like we are striving to be the better communicator than anyone else. So strategically, I want to work on with realtors on how we can grow business together. And what it really comes down to, Ryan, is we're trying to help realtors grow.
I think one of the most important things that we all have pushed across and understand is that we are indirectly trying to help real estate agents grow, right? Because if your clients are successful, they're going to refer you to their friends and family. And that's the only outcome that really matters, right? Mm-hmm. That the byproduct of the real estate agent being more successful is right there because we are nailing the client experience and being able to grow our businesses the same and in line with these real estate agents because we make them look good. So we're able to tell them and show them the client is the reason we're doing this. So being able to help down that client experience. And then on the other side, being able to help the real estate agent directly by, like you said, doing the homebuyer seminars or going out into the community and growing together in the community and being seen out in the community. And all of those things are awesome. And it creates a stability for us. And that's why we enjoy doing the podcast too, because we get to spit out some of that stuff, right? Like there's not a lot of companies that are doing what we're doing here. And spending the time to do it. So I think we've got a really cool dynamic with the strategic advantage that's going on. And then the last one I want to go through is what you'd never do again. Looking back across your whole 20, 25 plus years in the industry, what's one or two things that you look back and go, man, I'm never doing that again?
So I think there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years, just being in this industry for so long. I think part of my issue was getting too emotionally involved in my deals. I care so much about getting a deal done and getting to closing that sometimes my emotions get the best of me. And so early in my career, I really had trouble personally handling my emotions, and I would have anxiety attacks. I would get so wrapped up in all the little things that really didn't matter at the end of the day. And so I think part of what we had talked about is building a good operations team to take over the minutia part of the deals, kind of taking away my anxiousness. And so I think for the number one, I don't think I'll ever go back to doing a loan from start to finish, because at the end of the day, it's not necessary. I am going to be involved throughout the process, but I don't have to do every single thing. So I'll say this about my first coaching mentor. We wrote down on the board, what are all the things that you have to do as a loan officer? And he started writing it all down on a whiteboard. We came up with 64 things to do on every single loan. So can you imagine a loan officer trying to do all 64 things? So I think after the Dodd-Frank Act and after we had that crash in 08 and going into 09, really the loan officer position, in my opinion, was kind of split into two different parts because of all of the overregulation. Really, in my opinion, it was a little overregulated. So the first part of being a loan officer is the sales and the business development. So that's being on the front end, talking to clients, getting them approved, running them through DU, and then also talking to agents, building relationships with them, making sure that their borrowers are being taken care of, making sure that they know where we are in the process. And then the other part of the loan officer position is taking a contract, getting it submitted to underwriting, going through the processing piece, ordering the title, ordering the insurance, coordinating and setting the closing date. So in order to do all those things, you really have to be two people. Now, I can't clone myself. I've tried. It doesn't work. The next best thing is to find an operations manager who we have, and I'll just mention Zach. So Zach has probably been the best hire I've had in the business since I've been in the business. He's been fantastic. So to have that second piece really allows us to flourish and grow as loan officers. So I would say, to make a long story longer, that the most important thing is for me is to never go back to trying to micromanage every piece of the deal.
I love that. And funny, you brought up the split. I have a mentor that I would call a mentor in the mortgage industry. Is at my first company, was the operations manager there, overseeing processing and all of that kind of stuff. Just salt of the earth dude. And I remember one of the conversations he had with me, he goes, it's not going to be tomorrow, it's not going to be next week, but at some point in your career, you will hit the fork in the road, and the right side goes operations and the left side goes to sales, and you'll have to make that decision because you can't excel in either direction if you're trying to do both.
Yep.
And that has stuck with me for 10 plus years now in the industry.
But I think the other piece of me, what would I never want to do again? I don't think I'd ever want to conform to and work with a real estate agent that I wasn't clicking with, because it's important. As a business owner and as a loan officer, we're going to be working with all sorts of different personalities. And for me, I'm an extrovert. I love working with all different types of people. I love learning about them. I love talking with them. And that's just the way I am. But when you find, it doesn't matter how much business a realtor does. If you guys are not meshing, it just long-term isn't going to work. And I learned that in my career, that it's not that important. I don't care how many deals they're closing. If we're not meshing, it's going to translate to everyone else on my team. The processor is going to be miserable. The buyer may feel a little awkward if we're not on the same page. People that aren't very experienced don't really understand the process. And so I would say it's very important to find those realtors that you mesh with. If they're doing 20 deals a month or they're doing 2 deals a month, if you guys mesh, I think that's the way you need to go. And I think to avoid those people that give you headaches, I think you're just going to have a better career long term. And that definitely translated from my career.
Absolutely. That realtor loan officer relationship is so important.
Well, and I'll also say too, it doesn't make that realtor or loan officer a bad person. Sometimes you just don't mesh. They can both be really good people, but at the end of the day, we need to know the laws that we need to abide by as well. And so if you do get pushed to do a certain thing that you may not feel comfortable with, I approach it head on and just say, hey, that's not really something we can do, and let's move forward. If we don't mesh, I'm the kind of guy that I need to tell you how it is and how I work. Not everyone's going to fit your model, and I'm okay with that now.
Yeah, the biggest clarifying statement I've come up with for that is I'm not a vendor, right? Because real estate agents for so long, their leadership for so long was preaching that. Oh, bring in your vendors or give your vendor list to your buyer. I'm not a vendor. I'm a professional just like you. So I will be a strategic partnership for you, but I am not a vendor. I'm not a machine that you put $1 in and you get a candy bar out of. Sorry, it's not what I do. Yeah. That's not the way it works. So that's my little soapbox moment. Call me a professional. I'll call you a professional, and we'll be on the same page. Well, man, I appreciate you chiming in. Obviously, great insights over 25 plus years in the industry and being an expert in what you do. I want to say thanks for hanging out with us on the episode of Beyond the Guidelines. If today's conversation hits home with you, if you're questioning the way your business is set up, or if you're stuck following a playbook that just doesn't feel like you, that's your cue. You don't need permission from anybody to pivot. You don't need someone else's version of success to build your own. We're here to show you what it looks like to do it differently with real stories, real decisions, and a business that actually fits the life you want. So if this episode got you thinking, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody else who's really looking to break the mold. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, keep questioning the rules, and as always, go beyond the guidelines.